All right. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining the 3B's Balanced Business Budget session. I'm Elise Edling, and I will be your host today. Our presenter for this session is Charity Simpson. Let me give you a little insight on our presenter, Charity. She has served as the Director of Business Operations at Lone Star College-Tomball since June of 2019, where she manages a $25 million budget for the campus and oversees the business and auxiliary services, including the cashier's office, the campus P cards, and the copy center. Prior to serving in her current role, she served in various roles at San Jacinto College, including serving as the purchasing manager for the college. Her financial experience is very diverse due to working in a variety of industries over the past 15 years, including almost 8 years of community college experience, working in sales, purchasing, and as a financial credit analyst in the building products industry, and also working in the banking industry. Charity holds a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance from the University of North Texas and a master's of science in information technology from Florida Institute of Technology. She is also a certified Texas procurement manager and serves on the Grants Council, College Leadership Council, and Administrative Services Council. Charity enjoys working with finances and had the privilege of presenting at the first annual HEAPCON 2020, where the title of the presentation was Business Office Jeopardy, Using Budgets the Right Way. Okay, so before we get started, at the bottom of your screen, you may see an emoji button. You're more than welcome to shoot us some emojis during the presentation, as we know, so that way we know that you're all connected with us. If y'all could right now, just go ahead and shoot us some emojis, make sure everybody's working. Thumbs up. Yes. I love the emojis. Okay, so I feel like giving out a prize right at the beginning of our session. So the winner will have a gift sent to them after the actual conference is over. We will get your name and then contact you after the conference. So in your chat box, the first person that can tell me what the mascot for Lone Star College-Tomball is will be our winner.
Dun, 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 dun. Drum roll. If anyone knows.
Anyone?
We may have to pick. We may have to do another one. Anyone from?
I'll give a hint. So our motto for our college is one wolf, one pack. Anyone? Oh man. Okay, so our mascot is a timber wolf. So the next thing I'm going to do is, who has the birthday that's closest to mine? If everybody can just type in their birthday, you don't have to put in the year, just the month and the day. Okay.
March 23rd, July 16th. Anyone else?
Oh, okay. Well, mine is November 27th. So I would think that would be LaWanda. Would that one be the closest? With the 23rd?
It depends on what way you're going from.
I know, right? Let's see, July.
Was that 4 months from November? Yeah, I think LaWanda may be the closest.
Yep. All right. Congratulations, LaWanda. I'll take your name down, and then somebody after the entire conference will contact you for mailing address, and we will send you a special little gift. So without further ado, here's our presenter, Charity Simpson.
Congrats, LaWanda. Okay, let me share my presentation. Well, I want to start out with this. I just want to thank you all for attending the session on today with me. I know dealing with numbers can be very intimidating for some, but I appreciate you putting up with me today and in order to come learn a little bit more about the budget or budgeting. Just really quick, I'll give you all 2 minutes. If you all can type in the chat where you're attending from. If it's another Lone Star campus, you can put the campus. If it's another college, if you can type the name of the college that you're attending from. And also if you have budget management responsibilities. So if you have any type of budget management responsibility, what your biggest challenge could be with managing the budget at this point. So I'll give you all a couple minutes. If you do have any budget responsibility, if you all, and also what college you're attending from. Tarrant County.
Yeah, Tarrant County and then Lone Star College-Tomball. Whoop, whoop.
Yay. Anybody else? No pressure if you don't want to, but I just like to know Austin Community College, awesome. I just like to know if where you all are from. So just give you a couple minutes. I'm going to pull up my presentation while you're doing that. And if you have any budget responsibility, you can either send me a direct message or type in the chat if there's any challenges you may encounter with managing the budget. Let's see, let me share my screen. Here. Okay. So the 3 B's, a balanced business budget. Don't fall asleep on me, you guys. All right, so these are our objectives for the presentation. We're gonna define a balanced business budget, identify the reasons for having a budget, identify how to prepare for budget development, identify how to create a budget, review a few budget examples, and talk about how to manage a few budgets. Manage a budget. If you have any questions, if you can type them in the chat and Elise can keep up with any questions you may have throughout the presentation, or you can wait to the end to type in your questions and then we'll answer them from there. So let's go ahead and get started. So a balanced business budget. So pretty much this is an overview of the business's finances, where the goal is to always have more revenue than expenses. A balanced budget will serve as sort of like a financial roadmap, a financial GPS, where it will direct your decision making for the business, for the college, and it should also include all income and expenses for the company and aim to meet the company and financial goals. This should be a #1 priority. Putting together a budget for your department and for the company. This should be a #1 priority when starting a business and also running a business. This definition, it talks about meeting the company's goals, but if you manage a budget on a smaller level, like at the department level, you can bring that down to meet your definition and aim for meeting also not just the company goals, but the department goals as well. Some of these techniques that we're going to talk about throughout the presentation, you can also use them and apply them to your own personal budget. So that's the great thing about learning some of these skills, is you can also apply this to your own personal budget. So the reasons to budget. So in higher education, many of you all may not know this, but it's required by law to have a budget in place in higher education. As a college, we're supposed to submit the budget by a certain date in December, but it's required that we always have a budget in place. So that's the #1 reason to budget in higher education. #2, a budget is a major component for a successful business. You must stay on top of the budget, because without money, really, can you do anything? So you have to stay on top of the budget and have a budget in place in order to have a successful business. Number three is a budget is important for making key financial decisions for the business. With creating a budget, you will be able to gauge where you currently stand financially and where you need to adjust to meet your business goals. So after you kind of lay out all of the income and expenses, you'll really see if you're being profitable or not. So that's why it's important to have a budget in place to make those key financial decisions in order to be successful. Number four is creating a budget will also allow you to analyze what expenses are obligations and what can actually be cut. What is actually discretionary? What do you really need? It allows you to see what avenues of income are coming in and allow you to see where you can increase your revenue. So with that, like I said, you will see what areas you can better spend your funds on. If you can move funds from an area that it's not really needed, like, we need supplies, but sometimes your supply budget may be overstated and you need to use it more towards maintaining equipment. You can move that money towards that as well. And lastly, a budget will allow you to have proper documentation for applying for a business loan or submitting a detailed budget to investors if applicable. Sometimes when you're going to apply for a business loan, the bank will ask you, what's your budget? What is your profits looking like? They'll ask you how you can support the loan when you are applying for a loan, and how you can grow their investment in your business. So I want to do another giveaway here. The first person that can type in the chat, what popular TV show can you think of where investors will ask business owners for this type of information? The first person that can type in the chat. Oh, LaWanda, you're just on fire. Well, since you already won a prize, we're gonna give it to let's see, who's the second person? Was it Espinosa? Was it you? I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was her.
Okay, yes, Shark Tank. Yeah, absolutely. So Shark Tank is a popular show where investors would ask you for this type of information. So congratulations. You all were quick on that. So you say that's an easy one. So yes, so these are the main 5 reasons to budget. I mean, there's many other reasons that I can think of, but these are the main top reasons to budget. So we're going to go to the next slide. So preparing for budget development. What you want to do before you start your budget development is you want to brainstorm and identify, like, what are my company goals? What are our basic needs? What are my wants and desires? And even in higher education, a top priority for us would be, how can I support enrollment increases? So does my budget need to go towards some way increasing enrollment? So these are the type of things that you want to think about while you are preparing to put your budget together. Another thing you want to do before you put your budget together is review your spending trends. What is my money being spent on? Services, goods, buildings, renovations, staff, contractors. What has my budget looked like for the past year, for the past 2 years? And go from there. Those are some things that you want to actually spend on, because you don't want to necessarily roll the last year's numbers, budget numbers, to the next year if you don't really need some of those funds, and they can be used like in other departments. So you want to budget based on actual spend, and not necessarily just roll numbers over year after year and never changing your budget. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. You all may be able to get out of here a little early. I'm going a little fast through here. So creating your budget. Okay, so number one, what you want to do when you start creating your budget, you want to sum up your sources of income. So from the higher education standpoint, a lot of times we're given especially on the department level or the campus level, we're given the amount that we are allowed to have for our department. At the maybe at the system or district level, they're able to kind of work from like the revenue and streams of income and things like that. But you want to know what your sources of income. What is your source of income? Do you have multiple sources? Do you have one source? Are you just allocated a pot of funds and you can distribute it as you see fit? So you want to know what your sources of income are. How much are you bringing in? And as your income may vary depending on the type of business you have. So in higher education, we know our main sources of income is taxes, property taxes, tuition and fees, grants. I mean, we have a few different sources of income, but if you're in another type of business, you may have a different source of income. So like I said, depending on what level of you are budgeting from, the income you are looking for could be just the revenue or some type of allocation. And if you're in a different business like retail stores, their main source of income could be just sales, selling whatever it may be, whether it be clothes or whatever they may sell in the store. If you're a financial advisor, maybe of some sort, you may have various types of income like bookkeeping, financial advising, preparing taxes. So you would have multiple streams of income. And so let's go to a number, or sorry, that should have been number 2, but sum of your expenses, your fixed and variable expenses. So your fixed expenses would be the same cost each month for whatever that expense may be. So your mortgage, usually it's not changing unless you have like a balloon mortgage or something, but your mortgage is usually the same. Your rent is the same usually each month. So that would be a fixed expense. Your cable would usually be the same unless you add like additional channels or something like that. Your water bill will be about the same usually. And then your payroll, what you're paying people unless you're hiring additional people. So those are consistent costs that will be about the same each month. For variable expenses, that of course they vary each month. So depends on the usage or activity. I mean, we've all come out of this winter storm in Texas last week. Thankfully, if we're on this call, we're here and we made it through. So, but we know like utilities, those go up and down depending on the usage, depending if you're using more heat or more AC, those go up and down. Your gas, travel expenses, shipping costs if you're responsible for shipping out different products. So you want to definitely nail down what your fixed expenses are and what your variable expenses are. You also want to sum up one-time expenses, like a software renewal cost, your annual equipment maintenance, or your annual membership fees. You also want to take account for those. Those may not happen every month, but you also want to take in account, your one-time expenses. So, and then also set aside a contingency or emergency fund for unplanned expenses that may pop up. Like I said, we came out of the winter storm, so we may have something, pipes bust, and you need to replace that. So, or whatever it may be, you want to set aside funds for an emergency fund as well. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure. But in that emergency fund, it's just that you want to add a little fluff though, especially for like variable expenses as well. Okay, so this is our first budget example, and this is usually how, this is really just a quick, small example. I mean, of course, the college budget is much bigger than this, but I put together these numbers just to show you, if you're been allocated $400,000 from our budget department for your department, and you say, well, you all can't go over this, and then what you want to do is make sure your expenses that you've planned for the year don't equal more than the 400,000 that you have been allocated. So you'll break down, your full-time administrative staff payroll, your full-time faculty, part-time staff, vacation and benefits, services, travel, supplies, utilities, everything you want to include in your budget, it has to be 400,000 or less. Okay. If, like I said, if you find that you are not needing to spend 400,000 and you want to allocate it somewhere else to another department within your division, that's something you can take up with whoever is your supervisor or over you, or even the budget department. I'm sure they will be gladly take those funds back and use elsewhere. So, that's something that you want to kind of keep in mind. So budgeting, like I said, from this approach, is more from a department level. But what you want to do is track in each one of these categories that are listed under expenses. You want to make sure you track those expenses very carefully, just to make sure, like I said, they don't exceed what has been allocated to you. So I know we may not want to fess up to this, but sometimes we want to, like I mentioned before, we just want to just roll over the previous year's funds and not lose money. But like I said, it's always best to budget based on actual spend. So if your actual spend is less than what you've been allocated, then try to match that as much as possible. So this is a second type of budget example. This is kind of more on a higher level approach from budgeting, because you're actually considering the income that you have coming in. So if you're possibly like a small business owner of a sort, this is an example that I found on a website that I wanted to share with you all. So the income is, their hourly earnings, their product sales, the loans that they brought in, investment income, all of that is considered in the income. Okay. Next is your fixed expenses. Like I said, rent, internet, payroll, website hosting. All of that is not changing each month. That is staying the same. So you want to make sure you account for all of your fixed expenses and your fixed costs and sum that up, which at this point right here, it says total fixed costs at the bottom is $6,425. Okay. Variable, you see on here, these are expenses that change. Commissions are not consistent. Commissions change from month to month. So those change. You may sell a house, or you may not sell. You may sell 3 houses one month. You may sell 5 houses the next. So those are variable expenses that you are paying out to, maybe real estate agents that could be in your company. So that's up and down. Okay. Contractor wages, electricity bill, gosh, we know how much that can vary. So printing services, that can go up and down depending on, what you're printing out, advertising, up and down. So these are things that you want to definitely account for. One-time spends, office furniture. You may do some type of renovation of some sort. Plan for that. So as much as you can plan for in advance, you want to always do that. And so when you tally up everything, you see here, let me go back to the previous slide. So at the bottom of this slide, it shows you after you total all your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and your one-time spends, that the total for all of that is $12,900. And so when we have our total income that we had on the first slide, minus the total expenses, you'll see that you're still retaining a profit. So that's what you always want to aim for, even in your department, even in your small business or whatever business you're running. You always want to aim for maintaining some type of profit. When you see that number, if you ever see that net income number dip into a deficit or in a negative, it's trouble. It's trouble. So this is all about, like I said, maintaining a balanced business budget. So how to manage your budget? We're nearing towards the end. Let's see here. How to manage your budget. What you want to do is run budget reports. Run budget reports and reconcile at least monthly. to keep up with the income and expenses coming through. It's kind of just like your own bank account. You know, you go in, you log in online, you check it just to make sure that you know, scammers have not hacked your account, or false transactions have not come through. So you want to make sure you're reconciling at least monthly for your department. If you're managing that budget, matching up transactions. Like number 2 says, identify if the transactions have posted correctly. If they have not posted correctly, then you have to investigate. Identify variances, like number 3 says. Identify any big variances and research compared to what you normally spend or what your normal trend is. So number 4, it says track your budget in your accounting software. So I know some people use PeopleSoft, some people use Banner, QuickBooks, etc., or even a spreadsheet to track the budget. So if you do that, whatever you do, you want to make sure you're keeping track of, in a sense, you know, I know not people use checkbooks a lot, but in a sense of how you used to do in your ledger or in your register of your checkbook, you know, you used to write down your expenses. I think that's important to do, to put in maybe in a spreadsheet. Put that in a spreadsheet. Anytime you spend something on printing for your department, or you buy a computer or whatever it may be, track that in a spreadsheet so you can compare it to what's posting in your software. And then that way you can compare the two and reconcile them against each other. And it'll help you kind of keep track of what's happening. So, and number 5, get multiple quotes. Get multiple quotes according to the procurement policy at your college, or if there's one at a different company, or if you're in your own company, get multiple quotes to try to get the best value for the college. So that would help you really save some money if you take that time to do your due diligence and your research. Okay. We went through that pretty fast. So any questions you all may have? Feel free to type anything that you may have in the chat if you have any questions about managing a budget, and we'll go from there. I'll give you all a few minutes or a minute to maybe think about any questions you may have, but it's not much to working with a budget, especially if you've been working with it for years. It's just about really just staying organized and doing your due diligence in regards to tracking and making sure you stay out of the red, in a sense. So that's pretty much it. And if there are no questions, thank you all again for attending, and you're so quiet on that end. So we appreciate you attending this session, and I hope you all learned a lot. And I'll kick it back over to Elise for any last words that she may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you.